Invisible threads. The gentle hum of conversation filled the upscale gallery as Sophia Clark adjusted a small wooden sculpture on its pedestal. At 28, she had finally secured her first major exhibition as an interior designer, showcasing sustainable luxury spaces. Her delicate fingers, all 5 of them on each hand, trembled slightly as she made the final adjustments. "If you keep fussing with that, you might wear it down to dust," a voice teased from behind her. Sophia turned to find a tall man with warm hazel eyes observing her. His broad shoulders filled out his tailored navy suit perfectly, and his smile reached all the way to those captivating eyes. "Ryan Matthews," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "I designed the building renovations. Your installations make the space come alive." "Sophia," she replied, deliberately omitting her last name as she shook his hand. "And thank you. That means a lot coming from the architect." What began as professional admiration quickly blossomed into something deeper. After the exhibition, Ryan invited Sophia for coffee at a small cafe tucked away from the bustling downtown area. They talked until closing time, their conversation flowing effortlessly from sustainable design principles to childhood dreams. "My dad built houses," Ryan shared, gesturing with both hands as he spoke. "Nothing fancy, just solid family homes. I wanted to create spaces that could change how people felt." Sophia nodded, understanding completely. "That's beautiful. My mother—" She hesitated, carefully selecting her words. "She always taught me that environments shape people. I guess that's why I became so passionate about interior design." What she didn't mention was that Victoria Clark, tech billionaire and founder of Clark Technologies, had shaped environments by building entire tech campuses and transforming skylines across 3 continents. Or that Sophia had grown up in a mansion with 14 bedrooms and an art collection worth more than most people's lifetime earnings. As weeks turned to months, Sophia fell deeper in love with Ryan. He was passionate, driven, and refreshingly straightforward. On their 3rd date, he cooked dinner in his modest apartment, apologizing for the simplicity of his home. "I love it," she said truthfully, running her fingers along the exposed brick wall. "It has character. It feels real." Unlike her mother's mansion, which felt more like a museum than a home, Ryan's apartment buzzed with life and authenticity. They made love that night for the first time, their bodies fitting together perfectly as they explored each other with gentle hands and eager lips. "I've never met anyone like you," he whispered against her neck, his arms wrapped securely around her. "You see beauty in places most people overlook." Sophia's heart ached with a mixture of joy and guilt. She was living 2 lives, the independent designer who rode the subway and bargained at farmers' markets with Ryan, and Victoria Clark's daughter who attended board meetings and charity galas in designer clothes when she wasn't with him. The duplicity weighed on her, especially when her phone would ring with her mother's distinctive tone and she'd step away to take the call. "Everything okay?" Ryan asked one evening after she returned from such a call, his eyes reflecting concern. "Just work," she lied, hating herself for it. As their 6-month anniversary approached, Ryan surprised her with tickets to a weekend getaway at a rustic cabin upstate. That same weekend, Victoria had scheduled the annual Clark Technologies Innovation Summit, where Sophia's attendance was non-negotiable. Looking into Ryan's expectant eyes, Sophia made her choice. For the first time in her life, she called her mother and said, "I can't make it. I have other plans." The silence on the other end was deafening. "Other plans?" Victoria finally responded. "Sophia, this isn't optional. The board expects you there. Your future at the company—" "I never asked for a future at the company," Sophia interrupted, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'm building my own path." She hung up, both terrified and exhilarated by her small rebellion. That weekend with Ryan watching the sunset from the cabin's porch with his arms around her, she allowed herself to imagine a future where she could be simply Sophia, not the Clark heiress. A future with the man beside her, whose gentle hands now traced patterns on her arms as they watched the stars emerge. If only she could find the courage to tell him the truth. Fractures in the foundation. The first crack appeared 3 months later at a restaurant downtown. Ryan had just received a promotion at his firm and wanted to celebrate with Sophia. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he described his new project. a community center in an underserved neighborhood. The budget is tight, but I've been working on innovative cost-cutting measures, he explained, gesturing enthusiastically with his hands. If we can pull this off, it could transform the whole area. Sophia reached across the table to squeeze his hand. That's amazing, Ryan. I'm so proud of you. Just as their appetizers arrived, Sophia's phone lit up with her mother's name. She excused herself quickly, walking briskly toward the restrooms before answering. Mother, I'm in the middle of dinner, she whispered tensely. The Morrison deal is falling apart, Victoria's sharp voice cut through. We need you at the emergency board meeting in 30 minutes. Your father's legacy is at stake. Sophia closed her eyes, feeling the familiar weight of family obligation pressing down on her shoulders. I can't just leave. 29 minutes, Sophia. When she returned to the table, Ryan was nursing his drink. His earlier enthusiasm dimmed. Let me guess, you have to go? I'm so sorry, she said, already gathering her purse. It's an emergency with a client. Ryan's jaw tightened. On a Saturday night? The same client who called during our weekend upstate? And on your birthday? Ryan, please understand. What am I supposed to understand, Sophia? You disappear without explanation. You never invite me to meet your friends. Hell, I don't even know where you live. It was true. She always came to his place, claiming her apartment was being renovated, another lie in her growing collection. There are things about my life that are complicated, she offered weakly. Complicated, he repeated, the word hollow between them. Maybe that's the problem. Everything with you is complicated except what I want. Honesty. The following weeks brought more tension. Ryan grew increasingly frustrated with Sophia's evasiveness, while she struggled under the dual pressures of her relationship and her family obligations. The tipping point came when a business magazine published a feature on America's Next Generation of Tech Royalty, with a sidebar mentioning the reclusive daughter of Victoria Clark. Ryan discovered the article while researching potential clients for his firm. The small photograph beside the text showed a woman at a charity gala, her face partially turned away, but unmistakably Sophia. That evening, he confronted her at his apartment, the magazine open on his coffee table. Were you ever going to tell me? His voice was quiet, controlled, but his hands trembled slightly. Or was I just not important enough to know you're heir to a tech empire? Sophia felt the blood drain from her face. Ryan, I can explain. Explain what? That you've been lying to me for nearly a year? That while I've been stressing about project budgets and rent increases, you've been playing some kind of bizarre dressed-down game. It's not like that. Tears welled in her eyes. I wanted you to know me, not my family's money. Ryan laughed bitterly. But I don't know you, do I? The real Sophia Clark jets off to board meetings and lives in a mansion while pretending to be just another struggling designer. Everything about my work is real, she insisted, her voice breaking. My feelings for you are real. How would I know what's real with you anymore? He ran both hands through his hair, his frustration palpable. I've shared everything with you. My dreams, my struggles, my whole life. And you've shared... what? Carefully edited versions of the truth. Sophia stood frozen, words failing her. She could have explained how her mother controlled every aspect of her life through the family fortune. How she'd watched her father work himself to death, trying to meet Victoria's impossible standards. How she'd finally found freedom in anonymity and fallen in love with a man who saw her, not her bank account. But the hurt in Ryan's eyes paralyzed her. The foundation of trust between them had crumbled, and anything she said now would sound like another manipulation. I think you should go, Ryan finally said, turning away from her. As Sophia gathered her things with shaking hands, he added quietly, For what it's worth, I wouldn't have cared about the money. I cared about you. She paused at the door, looking back at the man she loved, wanting desperately to fight for what they had. But instead, she chose silence, closing the door softly behind her as tears streamed down her face. Outside in the cool evening air, she pulled her coat tighter around her body with trembling fingers, feeling more alone than ever before. Blueprints of the Heart. The housing development took shape over the following months, transforming from architectural renderings to concrete foundations to framed structures. Sophia and Ryan worked closely together, their professional chemistry undeniable as they created spaces that were both beautiful and sustainable. Nathan remained in Sophia's life, patient and understanding even as he noticed the spark in her eyes whenever she returned from site visits with Ryan. The unspoken triangle hovered between them, creating tension that Sophia knew couldn't last indefinitely. One evening, after reviewing final material selections with Ryan, they found themselves alone in the model unit they'd been furnishing. Twilight painted the space in soft hues as they stood admiring the result of their collaboration. "It feels like home," Ryan murmured, his voice gentle in the quiet space. "That's what I always wanted to create." Sophia nodded, running her fingers along the reclaimed wood countertop they'd sourced from a local sawmill. "It has soul." Ryan moved closer, his presence warm and familiar beside her. "Sophia," he began, his voice catching slightly, "these past months working with you again, they've meant everything to me." She turned to face him, heart racing. "Ryan, please let me finish," he said, taking her hands in his. "I was wrong before. I let my pride and insecurities blind me to what was important. It was never about your family or your money. It was about trust." "I broke that trust," she acknowledged, her voice barely above a whisper. "We both did," he countered. "I didn't create a space where you felt safe enough to be fully yourself." The honesty in his eyes threatened to undo her. "And now? Now I know who you are. All of you. The brilliant designer, the dutiful daughter, the woman brave enough to stand up in front of hundreds and claim her own path." His hands tightened around hers. "And I love every part of you, Sophia Clark." The declaration hung in the air between them, weighted with months of separation and rediscovery. Sophia felt tears welling in her eyes as Ryan gently released one of her hands to brush a strand of hair from her face. "What about Nathan?" she asked, the question necessary despite the pain it brought. "That's for you to decide," Ryan answered honestly. "I can only tell you how I feel and hope it's enough." Later that night, Sophia sat on her balcony, the city lights glittering below as she contemplated the choice before her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nathan asking if she'd like to meet for breakfast tomorrow. The kindness of the man shone through even in those simple words. She thought of her conversation with her mother the previous week, when Victoria had surprisingly offered her wisdom rather than direction. "The Clark women have always been decisive in business," Victoria had said, stirring her tea with precise movements. "But in matters of the heart, we tend to overthink. What did you do when you were uncertain about Dad?" Victoria's eyes had taken on a distant look. "I made a blueprint like I would for any project. Listed all the logical reasons why we should or shouldn't be together. Did it help?" A rare smile had crossed her mother's face. "Not at all. In the end, I crumpled it up and followed my heart." Now, Sophia closed her eyes, letting the evening breeze wash over her. The analytical part of her brain, the part Victoria had cultivated, wanted to compare Ryan and Nathan point by point. Weighing past against present, passion against stability, but her heart already knew the answer. The next morning, Sophia met Nathan at their usual cafe. His smile faltered as he registered the resolution in her eyes. "It's him, isn't it?" he asked quietly, his hands wrapped around his coffee mug. "I'm sorry, Nathan," she said sincerely. "You've been exactly what I needed these past months. You helped me find my footing when everything felt uncertain." Nathan nodded, disappointment evident in his eyes, but not surprise. "I've seen the way you look at him, the way you've always looked at him. You deserve someone who looks at you that way," she said, reaching across to squeeze his hand. His smile was sad but genuine. "I know, just promise me one thing. Anything. Make sure he understands what he almost lost." That afternoon, Sophia visited her father's memorial garden at the Clark Technologies campus. The peaceful space had always helped her think clearly. As she sat by the reflecting pool, she felt a presence behind her. "I thought I'd find you here," Victoria said, settling beside her daughter on the stone bench. "You always were John's daughter more than mine." Sophia turned, surprised by the lack of criticism in her mother's tone. "What do you mean?" He had the same thoughtful approach to decisions. Always needed time alone to hear his own thoughts. Victoria looked out over the garden. I've always been more decisive, impulsive, Dad used to say, Sophia offered with a small smile. Strategic, Victoria corrected, though her lips twitched upward. Have you made your decision about the architect? Sophia wasn't surprised her mother knew about her dilemma. Victoria Clark had always had an uncanny awareness of the currents moving around her. Yes, Sophia said simply. Victoria nodded. Then go to him. But remember, I know, Sophia interrupted. A Clark never begs. Actually, Victoria said, her voice softening, I was going to say remember that love requires as much courage as business. Perhaps more. Sophia stared at her mother, seeing glimpses of the woman her father had fallen in love with decades ago. That evening, Sophia arrived at the housing development where she knew Ryan would be working late. She found him in the model unit, reviewing lighting plans with such concentration he didn't hear her approach. The pendant lights should be lowered, she said softly from the doorway. They'll create more intimacy. Ryan looked up, surprise and hope flashing across his face. Sophia. I've been thinking about blueprints, she said, stepping into the room. How we design spaces to fit the people who will inhabit them. Ryan set down his papers, giving her his full attention. And I realized that's what we've been doing these past months, creating a blueprint for us, one where there's room for all the parts of who we are, the successes and the failures, the secrets and the truths. She moved closer, her heart pounding in her chest. I want to build something real with you, Ryan. Something that lasts. His eyes searched hers, hope warring with caution. What about Nathan? He deserves someone who loves him completely, she answered honestly. I couldn't give him that. Understanding dawned in Ryan's expression as he closed the distance between them, his hands gently framing her face. Are you sure? He whispered. In answer, Sophia rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was both familiar and new, a homecoming and a beginning. Ryan's arms encircled her waist, pulling her closer as the last barriers between them dissolved. When they finally parted, breathless and smiling, Ryan rested his forehead against hers. I love you, Sophia Clark, he murmured. All of you. And I love you, Ryan Matthews, she replied. No more secrets. No more hiding. 6 months later, they stood together at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the completed housing development. Victoria Clark attended, exchanging surprisingly cordial conversation with Ryan about future collaborations. Nathan came too, with a new partner, a landscape architect whose enthusiasm for sustainable design matched his own. As photographers captured the moment, Sophia felt Ryan's hand slip into hers, their fingers intertwining with easy familiarity. They had designed these homes together, creating spaces where families could grow and thrive. But their greatest creation was the life they were building together, a design of their own making, strong enough to weather storms and beautiful enough to shelter their dreams. Like any well-designed structure, their relationship now stood on a solid foundation of honesty, trust, and love, the invisible threads that had connected them from the beginning, now woven into something unbreakable. In the evening light, surrounded by the fruits of their collaboration, Sophia knew she had finally found her place, not as Victoria Clark's daughter or Ryan Matthews' partner, but as herself, Sophia Clark, architect of her own destiny, designer of her own heart's home. The unveiling. 4 months after the breakup, Sophia sat in her office at Clark Technologies, staring at an invitation on her desk. The Cooper Prize for Architectural Innovation would be awarded at a gala next month, and her mother's company was the primary sponsor. Ryan's firm was nominated for their community center design. You should attend, Victoria declared, appearing in Sophia's doorway without knocking. At 56, Victoria Clark commanded attention with her impeccable posture and penetrating gaze. The board expects a Clark presence. Sophia sighed, tracing the embossed lettering with her finger. Is that an order? It's an opportunity, Victoria countered, stepping into the minimalist office. "You've been hiding in this office for months. It's time you embraced your role in this company." "Like you embraced yours after Dad died? Working 80-hour weeks and forgetting you had a daughter?" The words escaped before Sophia could stop them. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Your father understood sacrifice. He built this company from nothing so you could have everything." "Except freedom," Sophia murmured. "Freedom?" Victoria scoffed. "Is that what you had with that architect? The one who left you the moment he discovered who you really are?" Sophia flinched. "He didn't leave me because of who I am. He left because I lied to him." "Same difference," Victoria dismissed with a wave of her perfectly manicured hand. "If he truly loved you, your name wouldn't have mattered." Those words echoed in Sophia's mind as she prepared for the gala. Perhaps her mother was right, not about Ryan, but about hiding. She'd spent years concealing her identity, letting her mother's wealth define her by its absence rather than its presence. The night of the gala arrived, and Sophia made her decision. She chose a simple but elegant emerald gown that complemented her eyes, styling her dark hair in loose waves rather than the tight updo her mother preferred. "You look different," Victoria commented as they arrived at the venue. "Good different, or bad different?" Sophia asked, straightening her shoulders. Victoria studied her daughter with an unreadable expression. "Just different." The ballroom buzzed with the architectural elite mingling with tech moguls and investors. Sophia moved through the crowd, accepting a glass of champagne with slightly nervous fingers. Then she saw him. Ryan stood across the room in a charcoal suit, deep in conversation with a panel judge. He looked thinner, with subtle shadows under his eyes, but still devastatingly handsome. As if sensing her gaze, he looked up, their eyes meeting across the crowded room. For a moment, the world around them seemed to fade. Then Ryan excused himself and began making his way toward her. Sophia's heart hammered in her chest as he approached. "Sophia Clark," he said formally, extending his hand. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Congratulations on the nomination," she replied, taking his hand briefly. The familiar touch sent electricity through her fingers. "The community center is brilliant." An awkward silence fell between them, filled with unasked questions and unspoken regrets. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice broke through, "please welcome our sponsor for tonight's event, Ms. Victoria Clark." Victoria took the stage with practiced grace, launching into a speech about innovation and vision. Near the conclusion, she deviated from her usual script. "Tonight is also special for another reason," she said, her voice carrying throughout the ballroom. "After years of working behind the scenes, my daughter Sophia will be stepping into her official role as creative director of Clark Technologies' Urban Development Division." Murmurs rippled through the crowd as all eyes turned to Sophia, who stood frozen in shock. This was the first she'd heard of any such position. Victoria gestured toward her. "Sophia, would you join me on stage?" With leaden feet, Sophia made her way to the podium, acutely aware of Ryan's gaze following her. As she reached her mother's side, something inside her shifted. "Thank you, Mother," she said, taking the microphone with steady hands. "But before I accept any position, there's something I need to say." Victoria's smile faltered slightly. "Many of you know me only as Victoria Clark's daughter, heir to Clark Technologies," Sophia began, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Others don't know me at all, and that's been by design. I've spent years hiding my identity, believing it was the only way to be seen for my work rather than my family name." She took a deep breath, finding Ryan in the crowd. "In doing so, I've been unfair to those who trusted me. I've hidden parts of myself out of fear. That ends tonight." Her voice rang clear through the silent ballroom. "I am Sophia Clark. I am an interior designer who believes in sustainable luxury. I am Victoria Clark's daughter. But I am also my own person. with my own dreams and my own path to forge. She turned to her mother, whose expression had shifted from anger to something resembling respect. So thank you for the offer, Mother, but I'll be continuing my independent design studio, though perhaps a collaboration between Clark Technologies and smaller firms could benefit everyone. As applause broke out across the room, Sophia caught Ryan's eye once more. His face registered surprise, respect, and something else she couldn't quite name as he slowly joined the applause. Later, as she slipped away from the crowd toward the terrace for some air, she heard footsteps behind her. Her heart recognized them before she turned. "That was quite a speech," Ryan said, joining her at the balustrade. The night air carried the scent of jasmine and possibility. "It was time for the truth," she replied simply, her fingers gripping the cool stone railing. Reconstructing truths. The night breeze swept across the terrace as Sophia and Ryan stood in silence, the muffled sounds of the gala continuing inside. Ryan shifted slightly, his hands resting on the balustrade inches from hers. "I owe you an apology," he finally said, his voice quiet but clear. Sophia turned to him, surprised. "You? I'm the one who lied about everything." "Not everything," Ryan corrected, meeting her gaze. "Your passion for design, your talent, the way you see the world, that was all real." He took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling beneath his tailored suit. "But I never gave you the chance to explain. I just reacted." Sophia's throat tightened. "What would you have done, Ryan, if I'd told you from the beginning?" The question hung between them, loaded with possibilities of what might have been. "Honestly, I don't know," he admitted. "But I'd like to think it wouldn't have mattered." Before Sophia could respond, the terrace door opened and a man stepped out, his silhouette backlit by the golden light from inside. He was tall with auburn hair and an easy smile that softened when he spotted Sophia. "There you are," he said, approaching them. "Victoria's looking for you. Something about investors wanting to meet the new face of Clark Urban Development." "Nathan," Sophia acknowledged with a small smile. "This is Ryan Matthews. Ryan, this is Nathan Reed, our head of sustainable materials sourcing." The two men shook hands, sizing each other up with polite but guarded expressions. "Your community-centered design is remarkable," Nathan offered genuinely, "especially the solar integration." "Thanks," Ryan replied, his eyes flickering between Nathan and Sophia. "You two work together?" "We've collaborated on several projects," Nathan explained. "Sophia has revolutionized how we approach sustainable luxury at Clark." Sophia felt the weight of Ryan's gaze. "Nathan has been incredibly supportive since I joined the company 3 months ago," she added. "He's been helping me navigate the corporate waters." Understanding dawned in Ryan's eyes. Nathan wasn't just a colleague. He'd been there for Sophia during the aftermath of their breakup. "I should head back inside," Ryan said, stepping away. "It was good seeing you, Sophia, and nice meeting you, Nathan." As Ryan disappeared back into the gala, Nathan turned to Sophia, concern evident in his expression. "You okay?" Sophia exhaled slowly. "I'm not sure." In the weeks that followed, Sophia threw herself into establishing her independent design studio while consulting for Clark Technologies. The arrangement gave her financial freedom while maintaining family ties on her own terms. Nathan remained a constant presence, his steady support and uncomplicated affection providing comfort during the transition. One afternoon as they worked, late in her new studio, Nathan brought dinner from her favorite Thai restaurant. They sat cross-legged on the floor among fabric swatches and material samples, sharing spring rolls and conversation. "I've been thinking," Nathan said, reaching for the container of pad thai with his right hand. "The Westridge development needs an interior designer. It would be perfect for your sustainable luxury approach." Sophia smiled. Are you offering me a job or asking me on a business date? Can it be both? His eyes held warmth and possibility. Sophia, I know your history with Ryan complicates things, but it's not just Ryan, she interrupted gently. It's everything. I'm still figuring out who I am without the secrets and the hiding. Nathan nodded, understanding in his gaze. I can wait. I just want you to know where I stand. Later that week, Sophia received an unexpected email from Ryan asking to meet about a potential collaboration. His firm had won the Cooper Prize, bringing a flood of new clients, including a sustainable housing development that needed interior design expertise.